All right, we're about to dive into a conflict that's happening right now, all around us, but it's almost totally invisible. We're talking about a war fought not with bullets and bombs, but with something you can't even see: lines of code. This is all about cyber warfare. And no, this is not science fiction. This is the kind of terrifying new reality of our world, you know? The digital world that we depend on for absolutely everything, well, it's become a battlefield. So, how do we even begin to wrap our heads around this? Well, we start by getting one thing straight. The very definition of a battlefield has completely changed. I mean, those old maps of land, sea, and air, they just don't cut it anymore. And that brings us to cyberspace itself. It's what military folks call the fifth domain of warfare, and man, is it a weird one. And like a physical battlefield, it's everywhere and nowhere all at the same time. It's a territory with no borders, it's mostly owned by private companies. Think about that for a second. And its landscape is changing literally every single second. And for the attackers, this creates a massive advantage. I'm talking about plausible deniability. You can act like a ghost in the machine. You can shut down a country's power grid, steal its biggest secrets, and then just vanish, making it almost impossible to prove who did it. And that, right there, completely rewrites the rules of international power. Okay, so this brings us to a really important question. If the battlefield is digital, then what are the weapons? You can forget about missiles and tanks. We are talking about a totally different kind of arsenal here. So what are they? Well, they're not made of steel or explosives. They're made of malicious code, armies of disinformation bots, and, those little hidden weaknesses in the software we all use every single day. You can pretty much group these weapons into three main buckets. First up, you've got cyber espionage. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's the silent spy sneaking into networks to steal secrets. Then there's sabotage. Think of this as a digital commando mission designed to actually break things in the real world. And finally, there's disinformation. This is pure psychological warfare, plain and simple. It's all about influencing what you think and just sowing chaos and division. And look, I want to be crystal clear here. This isn't some theoretical what-if scenario. These attacks have already happened. We're going to walk through 3 case studies that absolutely changed the game and showed the world what's really possible in this new kind of war. These 3 moments are absolutely pivotal. Back in 2010, we had Stuxnet, which proved for the first time that a piece of code could physically destroy machinery. Fast forward to 2016, and the battlefield shifted to the human mind itself, with massive election interference. And then, just a year after that, NotPetya showed the whole world how one cyber attack could spiral into a global economic disaster. Okay, let's start with Stuxnet, because this one was a true game changer. This wasn't just about stealing data. No, this was an unbelievably sophisticated computer worm that crossed that red line between the digital world and the physical one. It specifically targeted Iran's nuclear program and secretly manipulated their centrifuges, spinning them so fast they literally tore themselves apart. This was the moment the world woke up and saw that a cyber weapon could cause actual physical destruction. All right, next, let's talk about NotPetya. This thing was unleashed by Russia against Ukraine, and it was cleverly disguised as ransomware, where they lock your files and demand money. But that was just a cover. Its real purpose was just destruction. And the scary part, it didn't stay where it was supposed to. It jumped to the fence, spread like a digital plague across the globe, and paralyzed some of the biggest companies in the world. We're talking the shipping giant Maersk, the drug company Merck, the list goes on. So what was the total price tag for all that chaos? Get this, over $10 billion. That made NotPetya the single most destructive, most expensive cyber attack in history. It was the ultimate proof that these new digital weapons could be completely indiscriminate and almost impossible to stop once they're out in the wild. And that brings us to our third case study, the Russian interference in the 2016 US election. Now, this was a totally different kind of attack. It was a 1-2 punch. Step 1, hack into political groups and then strategically leak damaging information to control the news cycle. Step 2, unleash massive troll farms with thousands of fake social media accounts to just blast the internet with divisive content and conspiracy theories. The goal was to tear society apart from the inside out. And this really shows a huge shift in strategy. The target wasn't just a computer system or a power plant anymore. The target was something much more fragile: trust itself. Trust in our elections, trust in the media, trust in the very institutions that hold a democracy together. So when you look at all these attacks, Stuxnet, NotPetya, the election interference, you have to ask, why is this happening? And how is it so easy? The simple answer is that cyberspace is basically a lawless frontier. It's the Wild West of geopolitics. There are 2 huge problems that make it the Wild West. First, you've got what's called the attribution problem. It is just incredibly difficult to prove without a shadow of a doubt who actually launched an attack. This lets governments just deny. Then there's the fact that there are no international rules. I mean, we have the Geneva Conventions for a traditional war, right? For the internet, nothing. There are no rules of engagement, no red lines, no agreement on what should be off limits like hospitals or power grids. Now, I know this all might seem like some big, abstract geopolitical game played by spies and governments, but here's the most important truth of all. This war doesn't just involve them. It involves you, it involves me, it involves every single one of us. Just think about that for a second. The whole idea of a front line, some distant trench on a map, that's completely outdated. The battlefield isn't over there anymore.
It's right here. It's the smartphone that's probably in your pocket right now. It's the social media feed you're scrolling through. That is the new battlefield.
So, how does this actually affect you? Well, your personal data, it's a target for intelligence agencies. Your opinions, what you believe, they're a target for manipulation campaigns. And all those essential services we take for granted, banking, healthcare, the light staying on, they're all being held at risk. And this all leads to a pretty startling conclusion. In this new era, being able to think critically about what you see online, what we call digital literacy, it isn't just a nice skill to have anymore. It's become a form of civil defense.
Really, if there's one single idea to take away from our whole conversation, it's this. The line between the battlefield and civilian life, it's gone. It's been completely erased.
And that leaves us with one last, pretty urgent question. This war isn't coming. It's already here. So the real question is, will we recognize it? Will we wake up to what's happening before it's too late?